Hello, this is Carlos with Japan Import Tackle. Today we will be talking about the Jika Rig and our favorite baits to throw with the Jika Rig. The Jika Rig was invented as a leaderless drop shot. A lot of anglers have seen that when fish are looking up, they kind of see you on the shore or they see your boat, that it tends to spook them. So this was developed so that a fish has to look down instead of looking up. With these weights being about 1.5 inches, an inch long, depending on the weight and the size, it tends to keep the bait up probably 1.5 inches. For this rig, we will be talking about the Decoy 0 Dan Worm 217. The three sizes I use is the 1/0 with the 5 grams, the 3/0 with the 7 grams, and my favorite one, which is the 5/0 with the 7 gram. So the 4 baits that I primarily use with this technique, the first one that we have is the Escape Chibi Twin. This comes in at 3 inches, and this bait is made by Nories. You see how small this profile is, especially compared to the full-size twin. It's a lot smaller. Coming in at 5 grams. I mean, it's not super light, so you could get away with 10 pound, 12 pound line, but I would definitely recommend something a little bit lighter. Next on my list, and going now up in weight and hook size, is the Kasumi design Dancing Bone Doctor. This bait by far has been one of my favorites. If hooked correctly, it'll last you a lot of fish. So what I like about this bait is that with these really wide appendages, it really pushes a lot of water while it's falling down, so it really slows down the fall. So if you have fish that are a little bit suspended, this will probably be your best bait, especially if you're working a weed line. This really takes its time to fall and has a really nice shimmy in the water. And that again is a Kasumi design Dancing Bone Doctor. Now moving up in hook and weight size, this is the 5/0 with the 7 gram 0 Dan. This is the Nories Flip KoGill. This bait has really done well for me this year. So this was recommended to me by Mooney from Japan Import Tackle. He really liked this for bedding fish, and I tried it and was very successful with it. I moved it to post spawn, was still getting crushed. Even now in the summer, working it around weed lines. This bait has these little legs in back that kick a lot of water when moving down. It doesn't really slow the fall that much, but it does give it a lot of action, and fish seem to respond very well to this. Especially here in the Midwest where a lot of our fish are eating bluegill. That is the Nories Flip KoGill. And now we will be talking about the Escape Twin by Nories. This comes in at 4.5 inches long, so it fits that 5/0 beautifully. With the 7 gram weight, it really has a fast fall rate, so it tends to push a lot of water once it hits the ground. The paddles in the back kick a lot while you're moving the bait, so whether it's on the fall or on the lift, they're consistently kicking, and it gives it very good action. It doesn't really look like much, but when you see it in the water and you see it kicking, you see how enticing it looks. This has been very productive for me when I'm doing light punching from the shore. So I usually pick isolated pockets, and because it's so slim and doesn't really have appendages hanging out, it goes right through the grass very well. It tends to get hung up less than the other baits, especially when you see this one, how wide it is. Or this Kasumi with all these appendages that have a possibility of having a grass leaf wrap around. This one is made more for straight punching down. It doesn't really have much of a glide to the side or to the other side. This is straight down. Now as for the gear, when we're talking about these smaller ones, like these Escape Chibi Twins with the 5 gram and the 1/0 hook, I fell in love with this Jackal BPM. This is a bait finesse rod. The exact model number is the B1C63MLBF. I have it paired up with the SV Tatula Limited 31 pound Varivas braid to a 8 pound Varivas leader, and I will link all the product in the description. But this rod has been awesome for this technique. It's a very light tip, but it has a lot of good backbone. I've been trying it for these lighter Jika rigs, and I've been very impressed. Now talking about the heavier 5/0 or 3/0 with the 7 grams. I've been trying this rod out. This is my swim jig rod, and this is the X Pride. This one is the 172 MH, so it's a medium heavy, 7'2". This is primarily my swim jig rod or my spinnerbait rod, and this has worked amazing for this technique. It has a soft tip, but yet again, it has a very good backbone, so you're able to set the hook, and you're able to feel everything with this rod. But so far, I'm very impressed with this technique and this rod combination. I haven't really missed that many fish, and when you do hook them, you get them right in the corner of the mouth or the roof of the mouth, and the fish don't come off. And for the 5 gram and 7 gram weights, I would recommend going with something like 12 pound to 15 pound fluoro. You don't need anything heavier because you're not really going into the really nasty cover. You're kind of just picking apart the cover from the outside. So I would recommend anything from 12 to 15 pound fluoro for it. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to fish the Jika rig and some examples of how to really fish this efficiently, and that's areas that I like to fish it at. You know, these don't really weigh that much. I mean, I think the heaviest that I use is a quarter. I mean, these go up to 3/8, but I normally stick with quarter or 5 grams. So 7 grams, 5 grams. And what you want to do is, you know, 10-foot pitches, you know, just kind of pick apart. You see there's like little laydowns there. And as you're working back the bait, you know, you're just kind of giving it some, you know, slow hops. If you want to shake it a little bit, you can shake it a little bit. For the most part, you're just lifting and dropping. Lifting and dropping. So, you know, stick close to the shore. Try to pick it apart area by area. You know, I usually like to walk and stop at every spot that looks juicy and kind of make some cast, make the right cast. When they're biting this, sometimes they just run with it. So you just start seeing your line just kind of, sometimes they hit it like a jig. So you're feeling that thunk, and you're just laying down the hook set on them. But it all depends on their mood. It all depends on their behavior. There.